Warning. The following live broadcast may contain loud, obnoxious, shrill, and alarming noises that might be considered disturbing, if not outright uncomfortable to listen to, especially if you're wearing headphones. I share my office space with an African gray parrot and two parakeets, and I have no control over their behavior while I am live streaming, unlike my regular videos where I have the opportunity to edit them out as best as I can. And even then, if you are sensitive to loud, surprising background noises, I recommend either not turning your volume up too loud or watching my edited pre-recorded videos instead. Viewer discretion is advised. There we are. I don't know why it always surprises me every time I do this. You would think I would be used to this by now, but hello, Efrain. Welcome. Yes, Aaron Joseph. Hello, Joseph. Hello. Yes, I see everyone's beginning to wake up now. Actually, I almost forgot that I had scheduled a live stream today. So, if you are not from the New York area or you haven't been watching the news, we had a bit of a snowstorm this past couple of days. And we had another one. Well, we had the first snowstorm, which dumped around 18 inches of snow for us to deal with, which is annoying enough. But last night it dumped another 2 inches, which really irritates me because, shoveling is not one of my favorite things, even when Jose is here to help. So had to do that. Had to do that this morning. And it was warm enough that I decided that what the heck, YouTube's acting up. I'm trying to put my link in, and my own website, my own YouTube channel rejected my link. What the heck? So let me just take care of that for a second. Obviously, I guess I must have hit a setting that turned off my ability to let's see. Let me see if it'll allow me to do it straight. Okay. All right. So it'll allow me to do it straight from YouTube. So let me just do that. Let me just do the admin stuff. Okay. That's all right. So we seem to be good. All right. Now we're good. Now we're good. Where was I? Oh, yes. Snow. So I was shoveling my backyard because I haven't touched that, and we had probably around 20 something inches of snow in the backyard. So I was shoveling a trench so I could finally get the garbage out. And when I got back in, I thought it was an hour earlier than I thought it was, and it was just like, oh my god, it's 1:30. I have to get my shit together so I can do the stream. So welcome everybody. Welcome to the Egoworks drawing live stream featuring me. My name is Daphne Lage, and I am the artist for the Furry Fantasy Adventure Tall Tales and the creator, artist, writer, the whole thing of Egoraven. Where is she? So Egoraven. Did I just do everything backwards? Yes, I did. This is Tall Tales. This is Egoraven, Heir of the First Unicorn, a medieval fantasy drama you can read online at egoworks.com, EGOWORKS. And if you check out the chat, I just put up the link to the pre-launch page for issue 12 of Egoraven out of this 16-issue series. So the book is complete. It's at the printers. Actually, I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to get my proofs later on today. And yeah, so I'm still just waiting on something, a decision that's out of my hands to be made this week. So the campaign might go live either Monday or March 23rd. So make sure you hit the link and you hit the notify me button so you get notified when the campaign actually goes live for issue for issue 12. So yeah, just making sure yeah. Really, there's a do not recommend this channel button. I mean that Jesus, YouTube's getting intense there. Yes, just did the intro, Efrain. Thank you for reminding me. I also, if you've noticed too, I've also made it a lot shorter too, just because why not, right? It's like figure new year, get to the point type of thing. So like I said, this is my drawing live stream. I usually give like about like 20 minutes to a half hour to kind of like warm up and let everybody wake up and come on in. Uh so um you know so you know so what's going on? What's going on? Well, I mean, this week I've been doing a lot of admin stuff after finishing um issue 12 of Ego Raven. So yeah, so it's mostly a lot of like updating, a lot of background stuff, the website, the store, the whole thing, getting the campaign for the Kickstarter, you know, like ready to go. Like I said, it depends on a decision that's being made this week. Hopefully by Saturday, I'll find out. But definitely, the campaign is running in March. So that's pretty much. I mean, the admin stuff is usually, not that exciting. It's just like setting up books for print and and like I said, the website background, the website background admin stuff, right? So today what I'm going to be working on in Clip Studio Paint, which is kind of ironic considering the title, and the topic that I wanted to talk about today, is so what I'm going to be working on today is a print that I want to have for Baltimore Comic-Con. I was sending out an update to my mailing list this morning, and realized that it's like, oh snap, I really do have a convention at the end of the year. I think it's in October for Baltimore Comic-Con. I had originally was supposed to go to Baltimore Comic-Con last year, but something came up and I couldn't do it. So I had them move the table to this year, which I greatly appreciated. So now it's like I'm realizing, say, oh wait, it's like there's been this artwork that I had meant to do last year that I kind of just didn't work on once I had the table changed to this year. And I figured, once I saw it on my mailing list, that reminded me that's like, oh, I have Baltimore Comic-Con at the end of the year, that I would finally get to work on it, just because I need it, essentially, in the end. So I might as well do that. For those of you who have supported the House of Bob campaign, I am also simultaneously working on everybody's commissions. I already finished one of them. I'm on the next one. And I'm trying to get, and hopefully I'll be able to get these out by the weekend, so at least shipped out. And I'm really appreciating getting back into traditional media. as as opposed to all the digital work that I've been doing. And yeah, and it's just been like really nice. It's like it's part of the reason why I do offer commissions on the House of Bob campaign, because they're a really nice break for me, because most of my work is digital. And being able to go back to actually do like pencil and paper and rapidiographs and handling the actual tools, it's just a really nice change of pace, and it really does change like how I think about artwork at that moment. So I am working on them. I guess just to give everybody kind of like a little sneak peek as to one of the commissions, which um a lot of these commissions, I would have liked to have done them on stream, but considering the type of commissions that they are, and so this is one of the commissions that I'm working on right now. And like I said, it's like maybe if I kept the tape on it, I could work on it on the stream. But it's like, I figured it's like, what, let me at least get started on this other sketch that I have to work on, and we'll see, maybe we can kind of change pace in the middle of the stream, depending on, hey Lou, hello, welcome. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Actually, it's like there's not really much of a reason for me to like keep yapping, because like I said, there isn't much housekeeping I have to do, aside from saying that I have my Kickstarter pre-launch for Egoraven issue 12. Like I said, link is in the chat. And for those of you, who know about it already, I hope you've already hit that pre-launch notify me button so that you get notified when I finally go live. And for those of you who are not familiar, when you head on over to the pre-launch page, Egoraven, Heir of the First Unicorn, is the story of a unicorn princess exiled into the mortal realm who trains to become a knight, hoping to win a king's favor and save her people. And this is issue 12 of a 16-issue limited series. You can actually see some of the covers on the side right here. Egoraven, the rightful heir of the enchanted kingdom of Edenrun, faces the elf prince Rillian and a trio of elves from her past, challenging her right to lead and rule. Even with her friends by her side, the unicorn princess is forced to prove herself again, not only to protect her home, but the entire realm. So this is a sword and sorcery fantasy with kind of a soap opera twist, featuring character-related centered stories with unicorns, elves, dragons, furries, the whole 9 yards. So like I said, the link is in the chat and in the show notes, the pre-launch page, and hopefully, we'll get to find out whether the campaign is going to run sooner rather than later. So, and I'm really excited to get that issue out to everybody. So, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my other screen, and we can get started working. So give me a second and we'll get right to it.
You really want to know my process?
Absolutely.
Usually starts with a holla and ends with a creamsicle.
And then if there's time in between, Thundercats. Ho!
So here we are. So, like I said, this is a piece that I originally was supposed to do last year for Baltimore Comic-Con, before I had the table changed to this year. And it's like, so one of the things that I had been doing with my character Egoraven is that I have been doing some cosplay pieces of of Egoraven dressed up as all like these different characters. I've done She-Ra already. I've done Chapel Roan, and I got the idea because I'm going to be in Baltimore, to do a Baltimore Orioles, not Orioles, based piece, kind of like, it's like, oh, this is kind of like exclusive to Baltimore Comic Con. I had already done the Mets. I already done the Mets for Eagle Raven because I'm from New York. So I do so I did Eagle Raven as and Mr. Met. So now we are doing a piece with Eagle Raven and the Orioles. Oriole. I don't know if it has a name or not. I'm not familiar with baseball. So we're just guessing here. So what I'm going to be doing, even though it's already kind of like sketched out, I'm not really committed to the look yet for me to start inking it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of re-pencil the piece to kind of like tweak it a little bit. And then from there, I'm going to ink it ink it correctly. Also, just to give you an idea as to what I mean about the cosplay prints, I have a brand new cosplay print that is going to be available on the Kickstarter. Everybody who backs the campaign is going to get it, and I finished this one yesterday. So this is the cosplay print for the campaign. It's Eagle Raven and Daniel dressed up as Rowan and Alexia from this adult visual novel game that I am completely brain rotted on, Seeds of Chaos. And I've spoken about this game ad nauseum on some previous shows. If you really want me to go into it, I just recently spoken about it in detail on my vlog called Character Obsessions. So I think it's 2 episodes ago. So if you go into my the archive for the YouTube channel, you can find that, and you can learn more about Seeds of Chaos, which is, like I said, it's an adult RPG game by Venus Noir Games, and I'm completely obsessed with it. And I thought that it would be the perfect cosplay topic for the Eagle Raven campaign. So everybody who backs issue 12 on the campaign, when it finally goes live, you will all be getting this print as a postcard for free. So that's kind of gives you an idea as to the type of artwork that to expect, on the campaign, and technically on this live stream as well. So actually, let me show you. So this is the Mr. Met one that I did. So the Orioles one is going to be the companion piece to this piece that I did. So when I go to Baltimore Comic Con, I'm going to have the Mets and the Orioles prints together, and see, and then we get to see who sells more, which one will sell more. And if I ever do like any more conventions, if that ever like really becomes a thing for me again in the near future, I'm going to do a corresponding like sports print depending on where I'm going. So it also like depends on like who has the more interesting mascot, because I know, like, if I were to go to Philadelphia, why wouldn't I do a Gritty one, even though Gritty is not baseball? I would need to do a Gritty phase, just like, and then it's like, yeah, so just depending on which sport has the more interesting mascot. I forgot to hit my music here. So let me just set that up for, actually, no, I'm not going to bother too much fuss with that. I've been having this issue with Epidemic Sound, not necessarily, not not on my channel, but I have a secondary channel that I broadcast to, that I simulcast to, Indie Comics Network, where it's more like indie, just it's like it says in the name, it's more indie comics related. We have more indie comics between me and my husband. We have more indie comics content on that channel. And every time I play the Epidemic sound music, which I do have a subscription for, in the background, I'm always getting dinged on the Indie Comics Network. And even though if I challenge it, they'll pull the dings because I have the subscription for it. My account, like, it'll automatically protect my main YouTube channel, so I don't have to do that for there. But Indie Comics Network, I have to put in a dispute for every song that pops up. And when I play it in the background, we're talking about disputing like 30 something songs. So I don't feel like doing that today. So I'm just going to I don't know, like play one of, I don't know, Streamyard's music in the background, just so that it's not like just completely quiet. I wish that there was I know that there's a way to put in like my own music and loop or whatever, but like I said, it's like I don't feel like dealing with the oh hey Grant, hey Grant. So at least that'll be in the background to kind of kill whatever whatever dead noise. So hold on, let me get my water here before we get started. Okay, so like I said, it's like for this one, I just want to just kind of like pencil it out a little bit before I start inking it. And also, like, another thing that I want to get into the habit of is recording recording a time lapse of this thing. Like, I know that Clip Studio Paint, well, because yesterday I was playing around with it, and like for the Seeds of Chaos cosplay print that I did, and because I didn't know what I was doing, I accidentally deleted the recording for the pencil stage of that piece because I accidentally saved it as a PSD file instead of a Clip Studio Paint file. So I was able to do a recording of it, but only for like the ink part, the ink and coloring part, which is fine. You can see it on my Facebook and as a YouTube short on, in my archive on my YouTube channel. And and I really like the way that that it came out. And I want to make it a habit of doing more recordings because I don't know, they're just really fun to look at. Even though a lot of people do them already, but I haven't done them. I've done the old-fashioned that where you're just recording the screen and it's like every time you turn, like the canvas or whatever, that it's like, you get like the speed paints are really weird because you just see like a spinning canvas. And, and I like the recording that Clip Studio Paint does because all it's showing is what I'm doing on the screen. So it'll show you like the full version of the piece, and then it'll show like the pencils and the inking and the coloring without changing the canvas. So it's just like a lot more, it's just a lot nicer to it's a lot nicer to watch. It's not as like dizzying. So I keep forgetting that the settings that I have on my my portable tablet is not the same as the settings I have here. So, because on the Ink, yeah, Grant. So what have you been up to? What have you been up to? Just still working with Comicsburg. Actually, I think my pencil's a little. Oh, nope. There we go. I think my pencil is a little too thin. Yeah, so before before I came onto this stream, after trying to calm down, after shoveling that trench. Okay, so Grant says I took a break from Kickstarters over the winter, but I have another one coming out in March. Oh, you too. Okay. Like I said, I'm coming out with one in March as well. I just don't know whether it's going to be early March or at the end of March. So, but I'll find out. I'll find out on Saturday. So after I dug out my trench in the backyard so that I could take out the garbage because I had like 18 inches of snow. And now's kind of like a good time to do it because it's like 40 degrees outside. So everything is kind of like melting earnestly. But it's not going to stay like that. I think the temperatures are supposed to dip. So if I wait until tonight or tomorrow to shovel, it might be a lot more difficult because it's frozen over. So I didn't want to deal with that. So I took the chance of shoveling, and like I said, it's like I didn't realize I had kind of like took a little too much of a chance because when I finished shoveling, it was like 1:30. And it's like, oh snap, I have a show to do. So before the show, in the meantime, what I was doing as well was I was listening to this video that had popped up in my feed from another comic book artist. He's doing a graphic novel. It seems that he's done Kickstarters before. I'm not familiar with his work, but he was talking about how he had like kind of like decided to remove a lot of digital options from his artwork. So he went back to doing artwork, doing his comics traditionally with papers and pens and pencils, and he was talking about like what that meant like the differences that he noticed by doing that, which I completely understood a lot of what he was talking about. And 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 it was something that I have been like kind of like wrestling for a while, but not really, because I've always made it a point to do both digital and traditional art, no matter what was going on. It's not like I gave up one for the other. It was just something that it just completely depended on what I needed to do at the time. So so for me, it wasn't a whole issue of, like traditional's better, superior to traditional, although in the end that was kind of his sentiment. But like I definitely understood what he was talking about. Let's see. Oh, I think I think her head's a little too big. So let me fix that. And what I'm doing right now was part of the thing that he was complaining about, how working digitally, just in general, right? Because it started off as kind of like an anti-AI, or what the proper term is predictive generative tech nonsense. And and he was talking, it's like, okay, so it's like, he goes like, if he's not going to use that technology, that he's really going to take a hard stand on that technology, he would have, it's like he felt like the need to look at how other bits of technology, even if they're not AI, was affecting the way he was doing his work. And part of his experience also comes from being an art teacher, a college level art teacher. And he hit on a couple of things that I have heard another artist, this was on Blue Sky, where she was talking about how when she was a college level art teacher, how absolutely dependent her students, or just like our students in general, are, that they are so dependent on like their iPads and everything. And her whole thing, like the first thing you do when you go into her class, is that the first thing she does is she tells you to buy a sketchbook and a pencil, and that's what you're going to work on. And she would talk about how like there would literally be students bursting into tears at the thought. It's like that they literally could not work without their iPads. And and the whole point of her trying to push everybody into using sketchbooks is to kind of like break that addiction of relying too much on technology for your artwork, or at least for like like the basic skills of doing artwork. And this guy, and so the YouTube video that I was watching, it was essentially an essay about it. And and he was saying that it's like that even with himself, that he was seeing that as well from his students, how the absolute resistance, but working on paper is really nice. It is, but he's literally talking about kids who never worked on paper. Like they were like, we're not talking about like iPad kids who it's like, they reached, like they reach a certain age and then they graduated to an iPad. No, he's talking about kids who they don't know how to work on paper. They've only worked on iPads. Like that's how they learned how to draw, was in Procreate. And the absolute resistance that he would get and the same thing with the other teacher as well. What are we doing? We are doing a print, sketching out a print for Baltimore Comic-Con at the end of the year. And this is a cosplay / sports print because I'm going to be in Baltimore. So I am doing a print of my character Egoraven with the Baltimore's Orioles mascot. And this is going to be kind of like an exclusive print. Well, it's going to be a print for any conventions that I do in Baltimore. But this one specifically is for Baltimore Comic-Con. So that's what I'm working on. And I'm just talking about a video that I was watching before I came on the stream. So he was talking about like the absolute resistance that he was getting from college level students. We're not both of the teachers that I'm talking about, that this was like college level students that they couldn't handle the idea of not working digitally. It's not that I'm going back to Baltimore. This is the table that I bought for last year that I couldn't go to the convention last year, and they allowed me to move it to this year. So I'm going to Baltimore Comic-Con. So he was talking about, he was talking about this resistance he was seeing from his students. And then he started like really thinking about it. It's like, oh, wait a minute. It's like, I have a variation of this as well going on. And he was talking about how, like, because he had worked so long in digital, that he found it when he decided to go back to doing traditional artwork, he found that his skills really didn't translate well to traditional media, and it took him a while to actually relearn how to draw in a physical space as opposed to a digital one, which I found really interesting, because it was apparent that he had, even though he was already familiar with traditional media because of his schooling, he had jumped into digital media a lot sooner. Like, I don't think I jumped into digital media until I was in college. So all that time before then, I had been working on digital media anyway. And even then, like, digital media when I was in college was still pretty new. And it really did. I mean, we're talking about Photoshop 1. So I really didn't get into that, into digital work until much later. And even then, it was just coloring, not really like penciling and like doing full pieces. Like, for me, like actually penciling, doing like pencils like this, digitally, I didn't get into that until like maybe 3 years ago. Right. And then like like, yeah, about like yeah, it was probably about like three years ago. And it's the same thing with inking. And I think like maybe like a year later, I started inking. So this is actually like pretty new for me. You know, it's like I think we can like safely say like the last last 4 years at most. Complete digital artwork has been a thing for me. So most of my drawing career, I have been doing artwork traditionally. You know, it's like I had, you know, it's like just the other day I had bought a new cabinet and I was able to store all of my comic book pages in there. You know, so it's like, yeah, so that's how I mostly did a lot of my work. So what I'm doing now is actually very new to me. However, I was able to understand some of the little picadillos he was talking about that he had picked up that he didn't realize he had until he stopped drawing digitally. The stuff that he noticed stopping, I had already began to notice. And part of one of the things that he was talking about was the complete reliance on the undo button. And honestly, like that is really the first thing you learn. That's really the first habit you get attached to when you start working digitally is the undo button, is the fact that you can actually be a little bit more careless with your artwork digitally than you can be traditionally. Because you know, when you're working traditionally, you can't just slop your way through it. You have to really think about what you're putting down on the paper, or else you're going to spend more time erasing than you are actually drawing. So you learn how to be more deliberate with traditional media. But with digital media, with drawing like in Clip Studio Paint, it's really funny to think about how I can really not think about it as much. Like doing artwork, like it still requires a certain level of concentration, because it's like, look, it's not like the computer's doing this for me. I'm still doing the actual artwork in the program. That's why, you know, it kind of it actually does. It actually does. It actually drives me nuts whenever I have, you know, these smooth brains say that Photoshop and AI are the same thing, or that Clip Studio and AI. It's like, no, they're not the same thing. Although, you know, Adobe has incorporated AI into, hello, Jade, hello. Has incorporated AI into, or predictive generative, you know, technology into the Adobe suite. You can still use the shit without using that. So like I use an earlier version of Photoshop that doesn't have the whole AI BS with it. Well, you see, but that's part of it, right? So Grant says, I think it would be harder for me to lay out a page on paper because I'm constantly moving things around. The page, right? And it's like, yeah, that's hello. I like your little stickers, Jade. Thank you. But that's the point. Oh, hey, Glenn. But it's like, that's the point of, like, traditional media requires a lot of planning. Like, and like I was saying, it's like when I'm drawing digitally, even when I'm doing layouts digitally, I'm able to be careless with it. I don't have to like really think about it too much, because I can change it. It's like I can change anything I want at any time, and nothing's committed. In digital, that's kind of the thing. Nothing's a commitment in digital, right? But like when I was doing layouts traditionally, it required me to sit there and really, really focus and think about the artwork that I was doing. Oh, hey, Michael. Hey, Michael. And and it's not something that you can rush through, even though if you get skilled enough at it, you can, but it's still, you still can't rush through it. And that was the point that, part of the point that he was making, that when he was going back to traditional media, he found he had to he was struggling against that mindset. Oh, just hit undo. Oh, you could just, did you make the head too big? You could just resize it like I did a couple of minutes ago, right? You could just resize it. You could just, do whatever. It's like nothing. It's like everything is amorphous. Everything is, changeable. It's malleable digitally, right? But not if you're working on paper, not when you're inking, not when you're putting your pencils still have to have a degree of commitment to it. Or like I said, or else you're just erasing more than you're drawing. And and I knew exactly what he was talking about, because and also the thing is too, that he had said that I've also noticed as well, is he felt that he was more skilled on the computer than he was on paper, which was a very interesting thing that I realized happened as well to me, that it's like, which is why I started keeping sketchbooks, because that was kind of a thing. Like it's not like I'm I forgot my point about Adobe, about Photoshop, about idiots who say that using Photoshop and AI are the same thing. And it's like, no, it's not, because Photoshop is not doing the drawing for me. Clip Studio Paint is not doing the drawing for me. I still have to sit down and draw this no matter what. AI is, you're just putting in a prompt and poof, you got your garbage. I still have to do the work in drawing in Photoshop. So no, it is not the same thing. And to even say that is I mean, I swear to God, it's not even worth the argument, because it's like, holy shit, if you're committed to being that stupid, that's on you. That it's not my responsibility to change that. So I started keeping sketchbooks, more to just to kind of get these little dumb ideas out of my head, my little doodles and story things that I think of, and then I just put it in a sketchbook to kind of save it for later. But when I was doing those doodles, I could tell that my skill level seemed a little bit off. That there was a difference between my skill level on the computer and my skill level in a sketchbook. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I can do so many corrections digitally without thinking about it, that that I had to remind myself that when I'm drawing traditionally, I can't just although I have caught myself doing undo. It's really stupid. I do. Sometimes I've caught myself in a sketchbook trying to click undo. But conversely, I have also tried to use my eraser on the Cintiq. You know, yeah, I have no interest. Yeah, Matt Black Gaming says that since the AI has taken off, I have no interest in using it. I don't have any interest in using it either. Maybe at the very, very beginning, there was an initial curiosity as to like, oh, could I use this to make reference that I can't find, on Google? But the second it became this whole artists are cooked type of thing, where it's like AI is going to replace artists and fuck you guys, and you all guys, deserve it. It's like now you all have to get real jobs. Once it became that's like, okay, I don't have to use it at all. You know what? I've been, doing my own layouts and making my own reference before AI. I can continue doing that. And of course, like now, it's like now they're almost begging artists to try to use it. It's like, nah, you had your chance. You had your chance. Fuck you. That type of thing, So so that was like something that I completely realized that until he mentioned it, I go, oh yeah, right. That's that weird thing where it's like if I try to draw in a sketchbook, it's not that I'm not as skilled. It's just that I forget I cannot be brainless with my pencil marks as I can on a computer. So so I thought that was like interesting for him to bring up. And then like the whole other thing that it's like, you get used to, the undos and he was talking about like a lot of the resistance that he was seeing from his students was because like they didn't want to give up on that convenience. Like, oh my God, it's like, what if I'm not as good as I thought I was? And it's like that's not true. It's like you are good. It's just that now you're just you're transferring it into a different medium that just requires you to concentrate a little bit more. And that's not what you and honestly, that's not what you're used to doing. Although if you've never worked it's like are these pencils you use on or your computer? I'm not an artist, by the way. Well, this is my computer and this is a digital pencil that I'm using. When I'm actually drawing, on paper, I like to use blue line because I like the way it makes me feel like an animator. And I'm currently inking this piece. I'm just not finished with it yet. I'm using rapidographs for this, technical pens. Mostly they're architecture pens. You're mostly used for architecture drawings, but I use them for artwork, which technically you're not supposed to do, but no one can stop me. But what you're seeing on the big screen is a Clip Studio Paint with the mechanical pencil brush. That's default. That's kind of like in there already. So yeah. Oh, don't let the man. Yeah, don't let the man tell you how to use your pens. No, absolutely. Well, you see, but that's the funny thing. That was the whole thing. That's because Photoshop was never meant for what we ended up using it for too. So Photoshop was literally just created to edit photos digitally. It was never the fact that we figured out how to color it. Yes, I'm using a Wacom 16. I'm using a Wacom Cintiq 16 Pro. Yeah, that's what I'm using on so that's what you're seeing on the screen. So the fact that we use it for for digital coloring comics, for making comics or drawing comics or making paintings. Oh, but so like these students, right? So, they're all freaking out because, their skill is not like immediately translating to the paper, but it's like, okay, that's just a practice issue. You already know how to draw. You just have to you're just working in another medium, right? Like the thing though that I would see happening though is when they try to paint, because if you've only painted digitally and you have no idea how that using that physical media is like, then I can see you really, really struggling with it. Because you can do watercolors. You can do watercolors in Procreate, but oh boy, physical watercolors are an incredibly unforgiving medium. And you need practice. You need to suck at it for a while to get kind of sort of good at it. But that's part of the learning experience. It's like that's just just like with my sketches in my sketchbook, where it's like, oh, it's like I draw better digitally than I do it's like that's just a time issue. It's like, okay, if I were to put in more time into drawing in my sketchbooks, it would self-correct in a while, in a bit. It wouldn't take that long, right? So I'm not that concerned about it, but but part of the problem too is the fact that that social media has also trained, and this whole tech bro shit that we're inundated with, right? That they've trained us to think that it's the speed that's the point. That if you can't get this stuff done as quickly as possible, then what's the point? And that reminds me of another video that I didn't watch it. I saw it pretty much. I got the gist of it in the comments section. So there was this article in the New York Times about this woman who's using AI to produce novels. And I guess in the past year, she's done 200 novels and she's made 6 figures on that, right? And the woman who's talking about it, she's like, well, that only averages about 250 books, 250 sales per book, right? For her to make 6 figures, right? And she was going something's not adding up, And in the comment, it explains it. And it's so this woman, right? So she was saying that it's when it takes me a day to publish a book, to write. She ain't writing shit. It's the computer that's writing it. To write a book, but it takes you 6 months. Who's going to win this game? And of course, normal people are going to go, what the fuck game are you talking about? It's what game? It's but if the game you think you're winning is I got to make more money than you at this, then it's okay, here's a trophy. What the fuck you want from me? You want a little gold star? But the funny thing is that just like a lot of sus YouTube creators, a little bit of snooping around showed that she wasn't making money off of those books. She was making money off of courses that she was selling to convince you that you can make that type of money off your books. She wasn't making money off of those books. And if it's one thing that the guy said in the video that I completely agree with, is that these people have no problems lying to you to make their money. They have absolutely no problems lying to you, saying that they made 6 figures selling AI books, when really what it is that they're making 6 figures selling $1,000 courses to schmucks who think that they can make 6 figures on an AI book, right? And it's always the same question. If you're making that much money, why would you create your own competition? If it's all about selling in volume, right? And flooding the market and just outproducing everybody else, why would you create your own competition? It's because that's not where they're making their money. That's not where they're making their money. They're making their money selling courses, making you think that you can make money. It's kind of like, ever since I saw that video of this guy that says that YouTube has a pyramid scheme problem, and he was talking about a lot of these creative people who were making all this money on making all this money on YouTube and selling courses, but when you actually looked at what they were doing, it's like, what are you actually making money on? And one of his bones of contention was, and look, I have to admit, for a little bit, I was just like, wait, how dare you go after Kelsey, right? But that's what he did. But then when I actually listened to what he said and paid attention to what she was saying, it's like, oh shit, he's right. Because she has this video. So it's like, there's this woman who, she's all about, oh, you can make a living off of selling, off of your artwork online, right? And she has this whole business course where it's like how to sell your stuff online and make six figures just like me, right? So I'm following her thinking it's like, oh, like here's a person who's doing specifically sales courses for artists, right? And, as opposed to like selling a mousetrap or selling, drop ship garbage, right? So I had been following her for a while, right? But then this guy puts out this video, and at first I had some resistance to it, but then after a second watch, I began to see what he was talking about. And then I found the video where this woman, where Kelsey, she says that she made 6 figures in 1 year from her art business, right? From her creative business, right? But in kind of like a little segment, it kind of like as an afterthought, she says that she only made $2,000 from her actual artwork. What she was actually making money on was selling courses to other artists, making them think that they can make 6 figures on their, on selling their artwork, when really what she was doing was making money off of the course, like that she was making money off of the courses, not the artwork. Which meant that she wasn't doing what she wanted everyone to believe that she was doing. And it was the same thing with this other woman that I was following, where it's like she said she makes 6 figures a year on her YouTube content creator nonsense, when her own private, like her own personal channel, only made it only had I don't know, like a couple of thousand subscribers, when her creative business channel had had a 500,000 subscribers, and she was making money off of incredibly expensive YouTube consultations, when it's like, bitch, you couldn't even than what's going on with your own personal channel. It's like you barely have people on that channel. If you're as good as you say you are, how come? But that's the scam, right? That's the grift, right? It's not that they're making money drop shipping or selling their paintings or you know, it's like making AI books. They're making their money. The other one is I forgot the name of it, where it's some kind of online sales thing. You know, you're not making money off of those things. You're making money off of the courses to make people think that they can make money. And then people get these courses and wonder why what they're doing wrong. And the beauty of those things is that, oh, well, you just weren't trying hard enough. When in the end, it was all about failure to begin with. You know, it's like you were supposed to fail because the program was never meant for that. The money was in the courses, not you succeeding at this. You know, it was something like high ticket online sales or something like that, right? So, you know, so in the end, this New York Times article was pretty much just a commercial for this woman's courses, not for the fact, because it's like, it's not that so all she was doing with the AI was just flooding a marketplace and just selling enough books. Oh, hey, Gothic. And then just selling enough books to just make up for the effort. But the thing is, though, once with this article, everybody knows it's like, oh, this bitch's books are all AI. I'm not going to buy that. What's going to happen is that she's going to have to create more books to make less money. But that's what the courses are for. It's like that was the expectation. This article is for her to say, I made 6 figures selling AI books. Fuck you, real authors. But that's not what she's doing. She's selling courses. You know? And like, in the end, what's going to happen, like I said, people are going to see this woman, they're going to see her name, go, oh, these books are AI, and they're not, and they're going to stop. Yeah, she got those initial 250 sales, right? But now that the cat's out of the bag, I kind of doubt people are going to go out of their way for her. You know? You know, and the thing is, and it's like, and the thing is with a lot of these, you know, these tech assholes, is that they think everything is about like efficiency. And it's like, oh, well, you know, you spent 6 months. I took a day. You spent 6 months. Who's winning? And it's like the person spending the time creating something that people actually want. That's the person who's winning. The fact that you can shit out a book that you don't even read yourself, you know, and then they go, oh, you know, my time. Well, your time to do what? What are you doing? Shitting out garbage? It's like, that's, and then it's like, what? You're going to take that time to do what? Shit out more garbage? You know, like there's such meaninglessness in what they do, you know, that this is what this guy was talking about with all these students who's never touched paper. Forget touching grass. They've never touched paper, you know, and you know, and it's like, you know, like these college students, right? They don't understand that the process, it's the right. Art Victim says it's marketing strategy. First, you build a need, false or not, and then you offer the solution to that need at a price. Yeah, that's exactly what they were doing, right? You know, and he was talking about when it comes to like the art, the process is the point. You know, it's not cranking out as many pieces as possible to dump into an algorithm that's going to forget you in 30 seconds. you know, and they're, and it's like, I know that unless you're an artist, and even then, it's like, I know that there are artists who kind of like, oh, hello, Janora. Hello. Let's see, on mute while working, but enjoying the show. Thank you. No, I completely understand that. Like, I listen to a lot of streams too, and it's like, I don't interact because I'm working. Like Visenia, like I'm constantly listening to her, but I don't interact because I'm working. So I know what's going on, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Where was I? Yeah. So it's like so he started going into how the process is kind of like our sacred time with the art. And it's like, look, if you want to be cynical about it, you can say that that's hokey. It's like, oh, it's like, oh, that's cringe and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but you know what? That's a big problem that I have with a lot of artists these days, is that, and it's like, and a lot of artists that I'm having a lot of trouble like connecting to, is the fact that they treat their art as just this disposable thing they're doing to make money. And and on one hand, that's how people like Jack Kirby, that's how people like John Romita, a lot of professional artists talked about their work as being like, they were like plumbers, that they did comics like plumbers. It was a thing that they learned to do so that they could have this career, right? But just like plumbers, people do not tolerate crappy plumbers, right? That even though they thought, they considered what they did utilitarian, right? There was, oh, hey, Sarah. There was still something there in what they did where they prided themselves in doing the best possible work that they could to bring to elevate their skills to as high of a level as they could. And that's the reason why we remember their names. This AI author with her 200 book, nobody gives a shit. Nobody is going to remember her the second they finish that article. Nobody cares. Because she doesn't care. She can't even be bothered to read her own books. Why should I? Right? The books that she prompts, right? And so even though they talk about themselves as having a utilitarian skill like a plumber, there was still a level of pride in the work that they did. They were not just shitting out artwork. Like I said, there's a reason we remember their names. So when this guy was talking about the sacredness of the process, I completely knew what he was talking about. That it's like, I'm not doing artwork to create content. I'm doing artwork to create artwork. That there is a meaning to this for me. And it's like, and honestly, if you're the type of person, if you're a creator who thinks that this attitude is like really cringe, that's like, it's like, if you're not making money, it's all about the money and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know what? Then go do your thing. Go do you. and don't worry about what I'm thinking about this. In fact, that just tells me that you are somebody that I don't need to interact with. If that's your attitude, that it's all about the sales and the money, and it's like, I don't give a shit if people don't read it or don't look at it, as long as I got their money and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, then fuck off. Fuck off and do you. Has nothing to do with me. That's not why, it's like, that's not why I do what I do, and can't relate, and, and it's like, and that's the problem with a lot of, with not a lot of this whole tech bro mentality that's just poisoning everything. That everything is all about, doing things as quickly as possible so you can have more time to do other things as quickly as possible. And it's like, you know what? If you just wanted to die, put a gun to your head. That's more efficient. That's as morbid as that sounds. That's efficient. Because these are the same assholes who created shit like Soylent because they were bitching about how eating is boring. It's like, do you guys find joy in anything? Like, that's the problem with a lot of these people, is that they really, when this woman is talking about writing 200 books, oh, I'm going to win. It's like, what makes you happy? What gives you a feeling of accomplishment? And you know what? Hoarding cash is not an accomplishment. It's like, what is that? What is that all about? It's like, but then again, it's like, I think that that's part of the reason why they have such disdain for creative fields. It's like, yeah, that little Dixie is saying these people don't have passion and AI can't recreate the passion humans put into their work. Exactly. And in fact, AI erases it. Predictive generative tech erases that passion, which is what they want, because then it makes them feel better about them not having passion, about them not caring about anything, about them not finding joy in anything. Because they say, oh, but you'll save a lot of time. Okay, what are you doing with that time? I want time to do more artwork, but physically doing more artwork, not prompting a fucking plagiarism machine that's built on my artwork to begin with and all our artwork to begin with, to create garbage that doesn't mean anything. It's like they want the applause, but they don't want the work that goes into it. These are the same assholes who talk about, participation trophies. This is the ultimate participation trophy. Generative tech is a participation trophy. They want to just show up and get the applause without earning it. That's why it's like, look, that's why the thing is, it's like, I want AI to do my laundry, to clean my house and do my laundry while I have time to do art and make music. But instead, we're getting AI that makes music and does art so that we have more time to do laundry and clean our house. It's like, what the fuck is that? It's like, oh, it saves. It's like, oh, my time is valuable. Valuable to do what? How is it valuable? It's like, you're obviously, their version of value is completely different from my version of value. It's a completely different definition, right? These are shitty people. Tech people are shitty people who just want to justify their shittiness by convincing everybody else that they have to be shitty too. You know, they're literally trying to drag everybody down to their level, and they're trying to use tech to do it. You know, that's why it pisses them off when people do, when people like, you know, like this person that I was watching this video, they do art by hand. Because you know what? We're not going to use this tech. You know, we're just going to do art by hand. We're just going to do art ourselves. Right. And, you know, don't get me wrong. It's like, I know it looks a little ironic for me to like talking about the dangers of using tech, you know, in artwork while doing artwork digitally in Clip Studio Paint on a Wacom tablet, you know, but there's a way that we can have it both ways, you know, like the thing that I was like ruminating on with this previous video. Yes, it gives us more time to serve our tech bro overlords. Yeah. Yeah, if it's a passion, then they carve out time for it, right? But the thing is, though, they have no passion. We carve out time for it. We carve out time. I want to do my laundry and my house cleaning and whatever the fuck I have to do in less time so I have more time doing art. That's how I carve out time. So, all right, so we're in this, we're talking, so we're in this situation where it's like this person pretty much went full Luddite on his artwork, and he doesn't use digital artwork at all for his artwork, right? And then it's like you have the tech bros who just want you to use, they don't even want you to think about it, just like, oh, just type in some prompts and here you go, right? And then I'm talking about a middle ground where it's like, I use digital in context to what I need to use digital for. And then I do traditional in the context of what I use traditional for. You know? And that's where I am. I'm not saying there's no place for digital, but I'm not saying that traditional is superior to anything. What I'm saying is that these are two different ways of looking at artwork that has their pros and their cons in each thing, right? Because of digital artwork, I was able to finish laying out penciling my comic book series. I was able to do that because I was working digitally. If I was working on that series traditionally, I'd still be probably on issue 10. Because like I said, yeah, it's like traditional is, you know, it requires you to be slower and more deliberate. And it's like, I felt it was more important to finish the story, and doing it digitally allowed me to do that. Also, I think also it's an age thing as well. Like, I'm at an age where it's like, no, fuck this shit. I have to finish stuff. I'm on a time crunch. I'm on a time crunch right now. So anything that helps me finish this work that I'm doing that means something to me, the stories that I'm telling, you know, anything that helps me finish that faster, you know, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? I'm still drawing it. Sarah says it's the middle ground for sure. You're actually making the strokes. Huge difference. Exactly. I'm still drawing this. It's just that digital allows me to do it faster because of all the shortcuts, right? That it allows me to. Traditional artwork is different. That's a completely different mindset. You know, people find value in my traditional artwork because of that mindset, because of the different type of care that I put in, you know, that I put in to drawing traditionally. And they pay me for that. You know, and the fact that it's a one of a kind, right? Nobody else has this piece. That's also another pro, I guess. It could be either a pro or a con, that there's only one of this piece. Only the commissioner has this piece. Although I give them a digital file so that if anything were to happen, digitally, they have a copy of the piece. So that gives them also the peace of mind that if something were to happen to the piece, they technically still have it, albeit in a digital form. You know? And, you know, so it's like, yeah, it just depends as an artist, what is it that you're trying to accomplish with your artwork? And the bottom line is that no tech can replicate your why. And I think that that's kind of, I think that that's when it comes to those students, that's where they have to, I think that that's kind of like the missing link in, well, only based on the conversations that they're having, right? The two teachers that I'm talking about. That it's like, instead of like just, you know, throwing these college students at the deep end of the pool, right? And saying, look, this is what you have to do in my class. You're learning on paper, right? Is to kind of ask them, why? Why is it that this is a hump for you? Why is the why is the resistance there? Is it because that you kind of can't handle the fact that you're better digitally than you are traditionally? It's like, is it the fact that you cannot create artwork faster, you know, as fast? You know, you can't crank out pieces, you know, traditionally without the artwork itself suffering for it. You know, kind of like you have to get through that mental block first, you know. But like I said, I'm only basing it on what little they're telling me, not like what their actual classes were like. And you know, and then it's like, you know, I don't know, like could have that conversation made it easier to transition these people from digital to traditional? You know, maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. It's like, there we go. It's like, yeah, that's yeah, okay. So yeah, so I think that like on a certain level, I like on one hand I understood what he was saying, but also on the other hand, I don't want it to get into the conversation. It's digital, but it's the artist's actual work, right? Exactly. So like I said, I don't want the conversation to get into, oh, digital bad, traditional good. Like I said, they both serve different purposes. You know, and I understand what he's talking about because I've experienced that personally as well. The whole undo and trying to press undo on a sketchbook. You know, the fact that drawing in a sketchbook, like my artwork is different because I forget that I cannot be careless in a sketchbook the way I can be careless in a digital file. And you know what? And it's like I really do think careless is the right word. Because here's, because like even just what I'm doing now, right? The reason why usually I don't like doing traditional artwork on a live stream, like because I'm not able to interact the same way if I'm doing traditional art than if I'm doing digital art. And the reason for that, it's the reason why I never really liked drawing at conventions. Because actual physical drawing requires concentration from me. I need to concentrate. And I can't do that with people always trying to interact. That's why it was always like, I always really resented the convention advice, that it's like, oh, don't have your head down on the paper. Don't draw at a convention. But, oh, commissions are the best way to make money at conventions. But it's like, okay, then how do I do it then? If I can't draw at a convention because my head's down, how do I get commissions then? Then how do I interact to get these commissions, right? That they're expecting at the end of the convention, that a lot of people buy commissions at a convention because they're getting it then and there. So it's like, it's either one or the other, So, like I said, careless is the word that I would use. Because when I'm drawing digitally, I mean, even what I just did on the screen now, there's a certain level of carelessness because I don't need to think about it too much. I don't need to concentrate it too much because it's digital, and whatever mistakes I make, I can just fix it. It doesn't matter. And because of that, I can take that attention that I'm not putting into the artwork and interacting with the chat. So we're able to talk and draw at the same time because whatever looks a little too quirky, I can fix. It doesn't matter, right? Traditional media, not so much. It's like penciling, I have to concentrate. Inking, I have to concentrate because mistakes are not forgiven. If I make a mistake inking, I have to white it out, which if I'm coloring that piece is a huge no-no. If I'm coloring that piece and I make a mistake that requires whiteout, I have two choices. I either have to do it in a way that I can camouflage it I either have to kind of ink it in a way that camouflages it so I don't use whiteout. Or if it's that bad, I have to re-ink the piece. Because the coloring is not going to save it. So that's a bigger deal to me than drawing digitally. So so as you can see, it's like, so there's these two different things that I have to think about. So again, it's not that traditional good, digital bad, right? It's just that you have to know the pros and cons of each, why you're doing what you're doing, right? And which one benefits you the most. It's like, look, if you never touch a piece of paper, but you're doing these pieces digitally to the best of your ability, then you know what? You succeeded. You succeeded in what you set out to do. You're still doing the work. It's just that your tools are different. I mean, yeah, thanks to AI, a lot of digital artists are moving into traditional, but that's only to their benefit in the end. That's only to their benefit. Because it's just another skill, you know, it's just another, like, they're just learning how to do their art differently. You know, is it frustrating? Absolutely. Because like I said, a lot of actual mediums they're able to fake digitally are very, very unforgiving. But you know, but that's what it is, right? But it's like, yeah. So it's like, so if you're doing digital artwork, I don't see a reason to feel guilty about it. Although honestly, that was kind of like, I felt that was like the underlying tone of the video that I just watched. That it's like, oh, if you're not drawing traditionally, you know, it's like, it's lesser. And it's like, it's not. It's just different. You know? However, you know, you are kind of missing out on stuff. I think that you're missing out more, at least not trying to do artwork traditionally, than a traditional artist would be missing out on not doing their work digitally. You know, actually, he brought up an interesting point, that it's much easier for a traditional artist to transition to digital than a digital artist to transition to traditional. And I've seen that happen at, you know, like, I've seen a lot of, like, when digital painting, digital art started really becoming a thing, it was really interesting to see a lot of these cover artists back in the 90s, you know, that it's like the 90s, 2000s, when they started doing their work traditionally. Like, of course, I'm sure that there was a learning curve, right? But the way that they were able to get their digital artwork to look exactly like their painted artwork, I thought was really fascinating. That they were able to, like, make that jump. It's like, oh, now I'm just doing my painting in Photoshop or Clip Studio, right? You know, but traditional, not so. I mean, but digital art going that way, yeah, they're gonna have a harder time, because, like I said, it's like, you know, a traditional artist knows what the mediums feel like. They have that tactile memory. They know what oil painting feels like. They know what watercolor feels like. They know what color pencils feels like. You know, so I think that gives them an edge in imitating it in, you know, in digital, right? Which is how we get all these brushes, these digital brushes anyway, because these were traditional artists trying to make a digital brush that imitated what they were doing traditionally. You can't do that if you don't know what you're looking at. So digital artists can be using the watercolor brush, the oil brush, the charcoal brush, right? But it's a whole different animal when you're actually using that stuff. But like I said, I think it's only to their benefit, because by then knowing what watercolor actually does, I think that you're able to translate that to digital better. You know, you know what it is? It's kind of like digital artwork and traditional artwork is the difference between running a marathon just running on a treadmill and running outside. When I was running more often, when I was running regularly, I made the mistake at one point of thinking that running on a treadmill was the exact same thing. And that, oh, I just run on a treadmill and I just continue working out that way. And that way I don't have to be outside and deal with the traffic and, you know, and whatever. And I'm in air conditioned spaces. No, it is not the same thing. Because when I ran a road race after that training, it was very apparent what was going on. You know, when I was on a treadmill, I felt like, I mean, it really felt like I could run faster than I actually could. That I could run longer than I actually could. Oh, I'll be running a marathon in no time. No. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Completely, like a treadmill, your body moves differently on a treadmill. It's like your body moves completely differently on a treadmill than it does actually being outside. And mind you, outside has even more variables. Your body moves differently running on grass, running on turf, running on asphalt, running on cement, running on a sidewalk. It's completely different. Running on terrain, your body moves completely different depending on the terrain you're running on outside. A treadmill cannot imitate that. And this is kind of let's see. Sarah says, Trevor Von Eden came up with a spectacular commission from his hotel room. He showed it to me, and the other side of the pages looked like a mugshot of him. Pencil work, but from a completely different. It's like, it's different. A treadmill cannot train your body the same way for outside running any more than digital can train you for traditional media. You have to use traditional media to actually learn how to use traditional media. You have to put pencil to paper, and which changes how you think about how you do your work. I mean, essentially, that's the big difference between digital and traditional. It's a completely different mindset. It's the mindset that ends up going through the skill. That ends up building the skill. Because if you're going to go to traditional media and get upset because you have to, you don't have undo, you can't just scale, you can't just, you can't just crank out pieces, right? It's like you're going to have a harder time than if you just accept the fact that working traditionally requires you to have more respect for the tools and the medium than the digital, then you can get away with digitally. Like I said, you can be careless digitally. Oh, you fuck up, just press undo. Oh, that's easy. If I fuck up inking, I have to redo the whole piece. If I fuck this up while I'm inking it, I have to re-ink it. I have to redo it. That, like I said, that requires a completely different mindset. But there's always, but like I said, it's the context of why you do this. Why do you do this? Why do you do art in general? Because if your why about doing artwork, for the clout, I do art for the attention. More likely you're going to have a harder time if your why is weak than if you look at your artwork as Rick Rubin would say this is your artwork is your communion with God. I know that's really over the top, but I get it. I get that. I'm not a religious person, but I get it. That this is, even though sometimes the artwork doesn't look it, the process of making the artwork is sacred. And I think that the people who don't respect that, they're the ones that have a really hard time just with art in general. The people who just crank out comic books because they crank out whatever the trending, like the woman using AI to crank out 200 books. She's not looking at this as an art form. Writing is just as much of an art form as artwork is. I'd say I'm also, I consider myself, I'm also a writer. I write my stuff, and that's a process too that I highly, highly respect. Like I want to be like I'm writing a novelization. I've written a couple of novels already. I'm in the process, nothing published yet. It's like I'm writing the novelization to my comic book series, and that's a skill. Writing is a skill that I'm very serious about building, and some dumb bitch using AI to crank out 200 books is meaningless. Absolutely meaningless. It's like I said, it's like no one's gonna give a shit. No one's gonna remember your name. It's like okay, go do you, but don't pretend that your shit means anything. And you know what? And honestly, a lot of these tech people talk about it's like it doesn't. You can tell that it doesn't. But the thing is, but you know what does mean? They want to be known as an author. They want to be known. They want to just put in a prompt. It's like, oh, I'm an author now. No, you're not. You're a prompter. The computer did all the work. You didn't do anything. You don't even read your own shit. Even these assholes who generate, that content they call art. It's like, okay, well, why did you make this decision? Why this color palette? They couldn't tell you because I don't know. That's what the computer gave me. It's like, even when you have other artists trying to use this technology to elevate their artwork way above their skill level, it still doesn't mean anything because it's like, well, how can you fix it? No. Then what the fuck is the point? It's like, you put in your shit so that it looks like, I don't know, whatever the fuck artist you're trying to imitate. You're putting in your shitty little drawings to make it look like Boris Vallejo did it, but you can't do anything with that final piece. You have no idea the skill. You don't even have nowhere near the skill that this thing is elevating your artwork to, but you want to pretend you did something with it. And it's like, and that's just as meaningless. Well, I initially drew it. Yeah, but it's the computer that did all the work. You didn't do the work. You didn't do anything. You can't even fix the mistakes in the piece that the shit gave you. But you want applause? Like, again, it's like it's the ultimate participation trophy. They bitch to us about participation trophies. And then it's like they want to insult us, right? It's like, oh, it's the same shit, but then they want this, like I said, they want the same clout. It's like that idiot that got kicked out of Dragon Con. Well, I made more money. You're just all jealous because I made more money. Yeah, but art means something to us. Honestly, it's like, if you ask me to, like, well, if you use generative tech, it'll guarantee you more money than you doing your own artwork. Yeah, I'm going to be the dick that says I'm good. You know, but then again, that's also part of the whole thing. It's like, oh, you would give up you wouldn't, you know, use it. You know, it's like, that's not the point of why I do my artwork. So it's like when I come across these people who only look at their comics and shit from the thing, like, oh, I have to make as much money as possible. Get a job. Get a job if money is the only thing that matters to you. Leave the rest of us out of this. You know, it's like, yeah, Melissa says, it's like when I make something, it's because it was inside me bursting to get out and I had to write it down and draw it. Yeah. You know, it's like, and I think that's why also, like, I'm finding myself like really alienated from creators who really couch their shit in like business jargon and stuff. You know, where it's all about, you know, like marketing and business and funnels and activations and it's like they never, that's the only context you hear their whatever it is that they're making about. The only context. And you know, and it's like I can't relate. I really can't. I really can't. I'm tired of listening to it. You know, either it's like, tell me how this shit means something to you. And not in a hole. There was a hole in my IP catalog that I had to fill. You know, it's like, you know, it's like, you know what? I want to see genuine passion. I want to be surrounded by people who have genuine passion for what they're doing. You know, and it's like, and I just have no patience for people who it's like, you know, it's like, oh, but I got to make money. I got to make money. It's like, you know what? Because you know what's really funny? It's like usually the people who like are really like, oh, I got to make money. I got to make money. I got to make money. These are the people who are the least don't need the money. You know, that it's like, you have a job, bro. Make shit you actually care about. You know, use the fact that you have a job already to make shit you actually care about. You know, because that's what I want to surround myself with. That's what I want to hear from people. I don't want to hear about your activations. You know, your funnels. You know? I don't want to hear about that. You know? But that's a completely different conversation than what I want to start off with, but you know. You know? But yeah, that's much better. That's much better. You can kind of see the difference. Hold on, let me just crank this up a bit so that you can kind of see what's going on here, what I'm trying to do. So that's the one, right? So yeah, so that looks, yeah, it's a little subtle. It's subtle, but it's a much better sketch that now I'll feel fine inking. Yeah, so now what I just have to do is just, yeah. Actually, let me just put all this back. Yeah. So what do I do here? Okay, that's work. All right. There we go. Oh, that's my reference. so yeah, so that's a much better sketch than what I had before. So now it's just for me to finish the mascot guy, right? And then, just doing the rest of it. So is it still recording? Let me see. So time lapse. Yeah, it's still recording. That's the thing. It's like so I guess like the question is, are digital tools holding artists back? And and it depends on how extreme you want to look at the situation. It's like I said, traditional and digital, they both have their pros and cons. But I think in the end, as long as you're still just doing the work yourself, that whatever you need it for, that's what you need it for. If you're a digital artist and you never have to work traditionally, you have no reason to work traditionally, then that's just what it is. If you're a traditional artist that never has to work digitally, that's just what it is too. I mean, it's like, okay, but I think that for a majority of artists, that, we're more of a hybrid, where it's like, we use both. We use traditional where we need to. We use digital where we need to. And in the end, that's really the important thing. It's like I said, as long as we're still doing the work, that's the most important thing. If you're, but honestly though, if you're a college student and you're going to an art class, and all you've worked on is digital, I mean, Jesus Christ, it's like you should be old enough to know what you're walking into. It's like that, unless you're going for a specifically digital class, if you're just going to an art class, you should not be shocked when the teacher says we're going to be working, with pencil and paper. Like, also, that's kind of a thing too. It's like, really? I mean, it's like, are you so like that? Is the digital canyon that wide that there are people who literally don't know what paper is or pencil, like doing artwork with pencil and paper? Like, they don't know that that's a thing. Like, in the end, it's like, that's the part of the story that I don't understand. Like really, you're a college student. You're kind of an adult at that point. Like, really? Like, but that's, that's a whole other thing. Oh, by the way, it's like, it was funny. It's like, I was prepping this and I had completely forgotten that I had this banner and I had wanted to use it and I completely forgot to turn it on. But that's kind of, but at least I'm glad. I wanted to turn it on mostly to make sure that it wasn't covering up my QR code or any of my graphics. Like, it kind of hits the bottom of my screen here, but that's fine. The QR code is still readable. But yes, so so this is my piece. So far. I'm probably just gonna save the file and put it aside again until I feel like working on it. Like I said, I don't have to have this done until October. Because what I'm going to be doing now, for the rest of the time is just working, like I said, trying to finish my commissions so I can get some out before March. Well, at least by the end of the week. So get those done. Like, that'll be a priority. But this one was really just a piece that was kind of like, oh, let's work on this for a while. But I'm not really in a rush to finish it. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe if I have some downtime, I'll work on the rest of it and get that finished. So, okay. So let me just All right, so let's just shut off that music, which I think worked fine. I barely noticed it in the background. Let's see. So let's just switch that over. So there you have it. So I think my conversation went a little more all over the place, but that's what it does. I mean, that's kind of like the point of the stream. Just me yapping and yammering, depending on what the chat, how the chat goes. But yes, but I want to thank everybody who joined me in the chat today. Thank you so much for spending time and keeping me company and adding your 2 cents in this economy, especially when rabbit holes happen. Especially when they stopped making pennies. So thank you so much for your $1.25. Right. And thank you so much to all of my beautiful eyeball people watching from regions beyond. Thank you so much for watching or listening to me in the background. I hope you guys got a lot of work done, or at least more than I did. At least I was expecting to at least also have gotten the mascot character penciled out, but I guess not. I got carried away. But thank you so much for listening to me in the background. I hope you learned something. I hope you were entertained. That's all I ask. But I hope you got work done. Whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're at work, you're drawing, you're finishing stuff, you're doing your hobby, whatever it is that you're doing, thank you so much for having me in the background, keeping you company, even if it was just for the noise. Oh my goodness. So yes, so if you want to learn more about me and my artwork and everything else that I do here, you can head on over to my main portfolio site. Let me see if I can get this right. At egoworks.com. That's EGOWORKS, where you can read Ego Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, for free. But if you prefer your fantasy to be more of a furry Lord of the Rings adventure, you can follow the link over to Tall Tales. That's TAILS online.com. And you can read my entire archive so far. It's over 1,000+ pages of comic book artwork that it'll keep you busy. It's all there. And also, don't forget to, while you're on those websites, and even right here at the QR code below, don't forget to sign up for my newsletter. You can keep up to date with all of my new art, my sketchbooks, my comics, and my Kickstarters. And you get a free PDF comics bundle just for joining. You get PDFs of Ego Raven, of Tall Tales, and the Oswald Chronicles just for signing up. So also final reminder, because of the ticker that I forgot to run during the whole show, Ego Raven issue 12 is on pre-launch. It's issue 12 of the 16-issue series. We have 4 more issues to go after this. So you can find it. The link is in the chat and in the show notes, or you can just go to egoraven.com, EGORAVEN, and it'll take you straight to the pre-launch page so you can sign up and get notified so that Kickstarter can send you an email when the campaign goes live, either at the beginning of March or the end of March, depending on how the Magic 8 Ball feels. So thank you so much again for joining me. And remember, be better today than you were yesterday. Yeah, that's what I say. Be better today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you were today. That's really all we can ask. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.
You are all weirdos. Ugh.